Welcome to another episode of CDC Growthonomics. Last time we talked about 2022 readiness and your wish list for Santa. And one of the things we talked about that time, the first thing we talked about was, data and business and resonance between the two. But before we go there, if you've been under a rock for last million years and just come out, let me establish data is important, right? So let's say let's look at a business. Let's look at a startup business, which is a food delivery business. And COVID hit. There were people who were not willing to go. The restaurants were closed. They were only doing delivery and takeouts. And they emerged a new business, a new need from the market. And let's say you provided that platform for where connecting the delivery folks, the restaurants, and the buyers. And your platform was good. You connected that. It was real time. You signed up very good restaurants. You started with one city, and lo and behold, you started from, let's say, your customer number. Very quickly you went from 0 to 10,000 to 20,000. And you are at 100,000. You have almost spent on your, and the way you grew at that point was your Google advertising, and you used most of your angel and Series A funding for that. And as you grew in here, you collected a lot of data. You used data like Amplitude is another tool which feeds in the data coming from your app. And you use that, your product managers, marketing managers use that data. Hey, what is our average delivery time? How is our customer growth looking like week over week? How is that growth looking like? Which cities are we growing? Which restaurants are growing with us, and so on. So you use some basic data and you use basic level analysis. So that's great. You're now at 100,000 level. Now, how are you going to get from 100,000 to 1 million customers? Are you going to continue using the same strategy? Using your advertising, your venture funds, or some profits that you're beginning to grow, putting it back into advertising and growing that way? Likely not a scalable approach. So you would need to start understanding who your customers are. Who are these people who are ordering? What times are they ordering? What are the frequencies? What are people reacting to? Initially you acquired because there was no service fee and maybe no delivery fee. But at some point you need to start making money. And from that comes in true understanding of who are the habituated customers. How are you going to grow this business? And so at this point is where you need to start getting into secondary, tertiary analysis, which the initial tools that you had, where you were just dumping data into some data lake or even MongoDB or whatever it was, and then seeing some early insights or first level of data into Amplitude as dashboard or any other tool like that. That's not going to suffice for you to understand your customers, your customer segmentation. Who are those? What are their buying patterns, and so on and so forth. So at some point, the CEO, the founders are going to come and look at the head of engineering and data and IT and say, how can we use this data that we've been collecting to understand it better? Can we build this dashboard and that dashboard? Now, let's take a pause here. This is a good time for you to understand that you're building not for 100,000 customers, but for 1 million customer, right? So the scalability is very important, or scaling of that is important. And so this is a good time for you to actually think and plan. And so one of the first things I want you to take away from this session is that if you want to go from 100,000 to 1 million as you're growing, and you can't, obviously most of them can't use the same tactics that you use to grow to 100,000, you will need to start planning to invest in your data engineering. So you need to invest and plan your data engineering and data infrastructure and actually data architecture. Think about what does the schematic look like. Many companies don't actually do this fast enough. You're growing so fast, nobody has time to plan. Let's take another tool, do a patchwork, and actually at some point it'll be too chaotic where you'll have just wide data which is not going to scale. People most of the analysts using 20 filters to get to the data that they need, and data will be gotten to but not the insights. So invest in plan. That's number one. This is a good stage for 2022. If your data is at a place where lot of has been collected, but there are multiple definitions. There's missing data model, there are missing layers of data, or architecture is not clear, pattern dimensioning is not clear. This is a good time to invest and plan in your data architecture and really thinking about what the use cases are. The second thing is what are the use cases? How do you actually at 100,000 customer level, how do you figure out what your use cases are? I'm going to deep dive into it in my next video, and it's called Analytics Agenda. But know that you need to start thinking about designing your data for business use case. And I'm going to connect in the comment section. I'm going to connect to my article on single source of truth and how do you design a data where I start thinking about what top-down approach of what data I need for my particular business by connecting the business use case to hypotheses and to the data. So these are the two things I want you to think about today for your 2022 readiness for data relationship to the business. Is be ready to invest and plan, take some pause, do the planning, do the architecture, figure out what you actually need. And that may mean leaving some old tools behind and taking in some new tools, which will get you ready for that 2022 or a million customers. And the second one is to make sure that you are ready for your business use case.